morning, dobre utro, ili dobry den. It's a pleasure to be here today. As said, my name is Tiina Polo. Minä olen Tiina Polo. I'm Policy Officer at the European Commission, Directorate General for Employment. I work on EU policies linked to skills, especially to transparency tools of skills. And one of my work area is the European Qualifications Frameworks and the third country perspective in that. And that's what I'm going to introduce you today. So I have two parts in my presentation. First, I will share you the purpose and the main characteristics of EQF, and after that I will tell you where we are now and what are the topics we work at the moment. So we can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. So the first part I will discuss about the purpose, elements and institutional basis of the EQF. So the purpose of the EQF. As the European education and training systems are very diverse, they have different kind of history. And so the qualifications too, they are diverse and they reflect the national rules and traditions. And these differences can make it difficult to assess what someone with a qualification from another country knows, understands, and is capable of doing in learning or work contexts. So the purpose of the EQF recommendation is to improve the transparency, comparability, and portability of people's qualifications. And by doing so, the recommendation aims at contributing to a wider set of objectives, like to increase the employability by giving access to jobs, to mobility across sectoral and geographical borders, and social integration of workers and learners. And it also aims to foster lifelong learning, smoother transitions and flexible learning pathways by linking formal, non-formal and informal learning, and by increasing the access to further education and supporting these credit transfers in lifelong learning. And also it supports the modernization of education and training systems. For example, when we use the learning outcomes when describing our qualifications. Next slide, please. So the EQF is a common reference framework, and as such, it serves as a translation grid, translation device between national qualifications, frameworks and systems. So in the picture, you can see the EQF levels in the middle, 8 levels, and 2 NQF, one on the left side having 9 levels, and one on the right hand having 6 levels. And with links to the EQF levels, these qualification frameworks can be compared with these levels. And the EQF is defined indeed these 8 levels, and they are learning outcome based. So this means that a qualification is described to reflect what holders of the qualifications are expected to know, understand, and be able to do after this learning process. And the EQF also covers all types of and all levels of qualification. So it includes qualifications from higher education, from vocational education, general education, adult learning, but also other qualifications, for example, from the private sector organizations or international organizations or NGOs, if they are included in this national qualifications frameworks. And the next slide is about the institutional basis of the EQF. So it was first introduced in 2008 with Council recommendation, and that was reviewed and updated in 2017. And like Arjen, I think he referred, we are at the moment having the evaluation of this revised recommendation and hope to see the next steps during this year. And the governance of this EQF at EU level is the advisory group. I will tell you more closely after a few slides, but it's composed of representatives from different countries of EQF and also other stakeholders. And at national point, there are national contact points, and their function is to implement the EQF at national level and work as a network coordinated by the Commission. And then the next slide. And this is very important one, this next slide. It's important to point out that the EQF is voluntary. And as we know, the education is competence of member states in EU and not the competence of EU. And EQF, it doesn't tend to harmonize the education or the qualifications. We only work to transparency of these qualifications and education systems, and in that way we make it easier to compare and to support the mobility. So these recommendations, they are not directives or they are not regulations, and they are not binding, but really they rely on voluntary actions of the countries participating in EQF, and it really encourages the cooperation between countries. And the next slide. Well, this is the main function of EQF to enable the comparison and transparency. So referencing. The referencing links the national qualification frameworks to the EQF. So in the beginning of EQF, there was developed these 10 criteria together with the advisory group. And this criteria, it includes, for example, descriptions of relevant responsible bodies for the qualification in that country, quality assurance systems, procedures for inclusion of new qualifications, use of learning outcomes, and so on. And this referencing process, it involves also some international experts and peer review. So the referencing reports are presented and discussed in the advisory group of EQF. And after the referencing, the report is published in the Europass website, and EQF levels are indicated in the diploma certificates and the databases, and also the national databases of qualifications can be linked to the Europass website. And this referencing is updated every once in a while, so it's done usually when the national qualification framework evolves, there are changes in the education domain, and usually the updates are done after 5 to 10 years. And the next slide is about the advisory group of the EQF. So, like I said, it includes the countries participating in EQF. We have the EU member states participating, but also 4 EFTA countries and 10 pre-accession countries. And then we have other stakeholders, including social partners, Business Europe, trade unions, education providers from university level and for vet level as well, also student union, civil society, platform of volunteering organization, youth forum. Also these NGOs are represented who are active on lifelong learning. And the advisory group is chaired by the Commission and it's supported by CEDEFOP and European Training Foundation and also the Council of Europe, which manages the framework for higher education in EU. And then the next slide goes to the second part of my presentation. So I will tell you about the implementation, state of play there, and what are the areas we are working at the moment to improve our domain. So the next slide. So at the moment, all the participating countries have national qualification frameworks in place. Of course, there are differences in how operational, how mature these qualification frameworks are. And at the moment, 36 of our members have referenced. And also, I think nowadays it's even 6 who has been re-referencing. And at the moment, we can see that there are more and more countries who are re-referencing, updating the referencing report at the moment as there has been some involvement in the education systems. At the moment, 34 countries indicate EQF level on certificates, diplomas, and supplements, and 22 countries indicate EQF level on the databases. And the next slide is about what are the ongoing working areas right now. So there is work to do on improving the transparency and the trust in qualification and education systems. One of the topics is broadening the scope of qualification frameworks outside formal education and training, also utilizing the validation of skills. As we know, people achieve skills a lot also outside the formal domains. One topic is also procedures on leveling the international qualifications. So how do we exchange the information and consultate other countries when we include the international qualification that are perhaps offered in different countries by one provider. So we are working on those procedures. And then one very big area which was recommended in our revised recommendation of EQS is the comparison and work with third country dimension. So we have had a dedicated project group that has been developing criteria and procedures to enable the comparison of third countries' national or regional qualification frameworks with the EQF. And if I still have time, I will tell that more you later on the next 2 slides. But before that, also the other ongoing work, and which can be seen also in the evaluation report we are just preparing, is the communication. So bringing the EQF closer to the end users, learners, employers, and information more available on the EQF levels so indicating the EQF levels on qualifications and databases, like I said, and also to increase the transparency in our communication of databases and registers in the way of using short descriptions of these qualifications that are based on learning outcomes. So this is also one work we are working. Usually we work with the project groups. So we call upon a project group from the advisory group, and then the project group works and presents the work to the advisory group, where we can then all the countries can participate and give their opinion on this work. Okay, if I still have time, I have 2 slides on the comparison, so let's go there.
Yes, Tina, you still have 5 minutes, so yeah.
Okay,
go for it.
Good. So at the moment we are working on this third country dimensions. So and the reason for that, it was recommended in the revised recommendation to search for this kind of methods and procedures, how to compare with the third country qualification frameworks. Many people come to EU for study or work from outside EU, and of course we have businesses and trade across borders. But we can see that the skills and qualifications of people coming outside Europe are not always well understood and trusted. And as a consequence, many work below their capacities or cannot progress in their studies. So the comparison will facilitate the understanding of qualification from other national and regional qualification frameworks in Europe, and also vice versa. So understanding of EQF for the third country nationals and third countries. So the better understanding of qualification will make their use and recognition easier. And the next slide, please. So we have a project group again, and we started working in 2019 to develop a procedure to be used in this kind of comparison. And at the moment, we have finished already the comparison with Ukrainian. It was published in February 23 this year, and we are about to publish the comparison report with Capo Verde next month, beginning of next month. And then we will start the comparison with one regional qualification framework, so the Southern African Development Community framework is that what we are going to start this autumn. But what's important here is that the comparison, although we have the criteria for the comparison, we don't look for that these frameworks should meet these criteria in third countries. No, we don't look for harmonization, but instead we have the dialogue, and in this dialogue we will identify the similarities and the differences of these qualification frameworks. So this is really a joint dialogue and joint process to achieve and increase the understanding of these qualifications and qualification frameworks from the third countries. So this is the work that we are also doing at the moment. Then in the end, next slide is, this was about the pilots. I think we were one slide behind, but you can go even further now. And the last slide is about it's only the links to the information, further information. So this was everything I had. now. Thank you.